Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's virtual Sunday School. Now, I left you with a teaser last week because I said that we were going to talk about an alternative disciple. So I decided that I would film it here in our alternate church or little chapel. Here at the Annunciation in Rochester, we have this beautiful little chapel that is downstairs that unfortunately a lot of people don't necessarily know it's here or haven't necessarily used it. So I want to try to use it a little bit more, and I wanted to show it to you. It's the same church as we have upstairs, but it's an alternate. So who are we talking about today as an alternate disciple? We're talking about Mary Magdalene. So who was Mary Magdalene? Well, the church uses the title of equal to the apostles. Wow, that's a pretty big title, because if you remember the Last Supper icon where all the disciples are sitting there, you don't see a woman sitting there. Well, you kind of see St. John sitting next to Christ, and he's kind of got long hair. But that's St. John. But you don't see any women there. But Mary Magdalene was so important to the ministry of Jesus Christ that the church calls her Saint Mary Magdalene, equal to the apostles. So unlike the other disciples that Jesus recruited, who were all fishermen, well, and a thief was in there too, Mary Magdalene was different. Now, she was from an area called Magdala, and when Jesus met her, she was possessed by 7 demons. So she was having a pretty rough life. Jesus then exorcised those demons from her, and her repentance was so great that she then, just like the disciples, she devoted her life to Jesus Christ and his ministry, and she followed him just as the other disciples did. So some of the other things that Mary Magdalene did in her discipleship was that she was the one who anointed Jesus with the costly oils and myrrhs. And in fact, some of the disciples even grumbled and said, "Why is she pouring all this expensive oils and everything like that on Jesus?" And Jesus replied and said, "She knows what she is doing. She is preparing me for my burial." And it was Mary Magdalene who understood that. Actually, it was Mary Magdalene who was the first to discover the risen Jesus. After he was laid in the tomb, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and she didn't see anybody in there. And she was sitting down and she was wondering what's happened. And she heard this voice, and she thought that this man that approached her was a gardener, but he was actually Jesus Christ. So she was the first one to see it. Remember back when we talked about the 12 disciples and we talked about how Peter and John ran to the tomb and Peter outran him? Well, who do you think it was that told Peter and John that there was an empty tomb and that she had seen Jesus? That was Mary Magdalene. So it was a woman who first saw the risen Lord. And she has something to do with Easter eggs, but we're going to get to that in another video. So with the church honoring Mary Magdalene, the church is telling us that men and women are equal. It's not more males and it's not more females. We are all equal in the eyes of God, and the church wants us to know that. There are a lot of strong figures in the Bible. There's Abraham and Sarah, and then there's Ruth, and there's David. So they're really strong characters. And in fact, we have a lot of women saints also. But Mary Magdalene was one of those saints of the church who did exactly what Jesus Christ told us to do. And that was to pick up your cross and follow me. It was Mary Magdalene who had the courage to be there to witness at the crucifixion. And what were the other disciples doing? They had already run off. And in fact, one was busy being scared by a rooster. So when you hear that saying, pick up your cross and follow me, I want you to remember the equal to the apostles Mary Magdalene and follow her courage and follow her example. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Virtual Sunday School, and tune in next week because Jesus is going to ride a donkey.